Hello and welcome back to the Bleacher Preacher podcast. It is NFL free agency season. Today it is Jonathan coming to you with Rob. How you doing, man?
What up, man? Pretty good, pretty good.
NFL free agency, man. Money is flying from one team to another. Players are getting paid, and it's just outright ridiculous with some of these. Just a little sneak peek right now. The safety market alone has commanded over $300 million. That's from one position.
Safety is a very important position.
The new term this year that's thrown around right now is box safety. So get ready to hear that misused time and time again going into the new league year. So let's take a little bit of rundown of some new teams players going to new teams, what their contracts look like, what it means for the team and the player going forward, and kind of roll on from there. So just starting at the top of the list, the Arizona Cardinals. Right now, they own the number one pick in the draft, but they've already started by bringing in, some names. They paid former Eagle linebacker Jordan Hicks nice little chunk of change for 34. But Rob, it's your man. Terrell Suggs is leaving Baltimore to go home to Arizona. It's got to hurt seeing T Sizzle leave, right?
Yeah, but we got Terrell Suggs for 16 years in Baltimore. So, yes, it's a bittersweet moment seeing him leave, but he had a very, very long, prosperous career in Baltimore. Super Bowl ring, defensive MVP. There's not much else you can ask for Terrell Suggs. Terrell Suggs is the career leader, the NFL leader in TFLs. He's top 10 in sacks. I think by the end of his career, if he plays 2 or 3 more years, he's got a chance to sneak into the top 5 all time in sacks. He's going home to Arizona. I know he went to school there. I think he has a house still there, and they paid him $7 million for 1 year. I think that was a lot more than what Baltimore was willing. It's probably double what Baltimore was going to offer him to come back. So, get that last potential payday, $7 million versus like 3 or 4 that I think Baltimore was offering, and go home, closer to home.
Thank you, T Sizzle. You have terrorized the AFC North and the rest of the AFC East for long enough, or excuse me, the rest of the AFC. So I think some quarterbacks will be happy to see him change division. Some other small moves done by the Cardinals, but again, nothing groundbreaking. Just let's see, moving a little bit further down the list. Speaking of the Ravens, let's get right into it. They make a splash at safety, Rob. Earl Thomas moving from the Legion of Boom to a team that's known for having an incredible safety. So what can the Ravens expect to get out of Earl Thomas in 2019?
When they had Eric Weddle, and it was Eric Weddle and Tony Jefferson, they did a lot of disguising with Eric Weddle. Eric Weddle played a lot in the box, and then Eric Weddle will like jump up into the line of scrimmage, jump around, cause a little mayhem, and then run straight back, sprint straight back to his free safety position to play deep. I think Earl Thomas, when he was playing in Seattle, he was pretty much that deep center fielder in that cover 3. I think he's going to be used a lot like Weddle. Kind of excited to see how they use him, because the way they use their safeties, the way they use their whole defense and putting people in weird positions and trying to just cause a lot of organized chaos is going to be fun to watch. The secondary, I think, is probably the best secondary in the NFL, to be honest with you. Marlon Humphrey, Brandon Carr, Jimmy Smith, Tavon Young, Earl Thomas, Tony Jefferson is a very elite group in the secondary, and the Baltimore Ravens need that, since they lost a lot of talent in the front 7 in the linebacking core and then defensive line. Strengthen the secondary and try to find ways to put some athletes on the field to generate some pressure.
And if there's one team that can find out to make a mean, hard-hitting, ball-hawking secondary, I don't think there's much better franchises than the Baltimore Ravens. Cool little nugget I came across was Earl Thomas was able to get the number 29 from Marlon Humphreys, and in exchange, Earl Thomas will be working with his mom's charity.
Yeah, I believe it was his mom's track team that he's donating to or something like that. I think I saw the stat, or not the stat. I saw the tweet earlier or something like that. But yeah, Earl Thomas is getting number 29 back. Ravens also signed Mark Ingram. That is okay. 15 mil, 5 mil a year, not bad. I wanted Tevin Coleman. I think I wanted more of a receiving threat. I think Tevin Coleman is more of a receiving threat than Mark Ingram, but I still think Mark Ingram is going to do very well in this offense.
Well, the Raven offense, that's going to have 4 tight ends, 5 running backs, 3 fullbacks, and just bleed everybody to death. And then Lamar Jackson's going to sneak out for, 40, 50-yard runs. So I like Ingram just for the fact that he's reliable. He's going to be sturdy for the most part. I think, outside of the suspension last year, he was a fairly steady presence in the New Orleans backfield. So I think that's somewhere, where Baltimore would kind of have these no names just kind of show up for nowhere, and it would be extremely maddening for, say someone in fantasy who had a Baltimore running back and didn't know who the hell to play that night. This is a little bit more easy.
I had all the Baltimore running backs. I had Alex Collins, I had Ty Montgomery, and I had Gus Edwards all on my team in fantasy last year at one point, until it was Gus Edwards to the end of the year where he was running wild. But yeah, so that's what I meant with Mark Ingram and Gus Edwards. I feel like they do the same things, which is why I run a receiving back. But you can probably find one in the draft. I think those two plus Kenny Dixon and maybe somebody in the draft is somebody or as a running attack that I'll be getting used to.
They'll have to do their best to try and find the next Alvin Kamara to pair up with Mark Ingram. That home run threat, little screen pass, bubble screens, all that fun stuff. Going up to Buffalo, the Buffalo Bills open up the checkbook this free agency period. They get 2 new weapons for Josh Allen with Cole Beasley and John Brown, former Baltimore legend QJB, also of the Arizona Cardinals. So they also added tight end Tyler Kroft. So Buffalo definitely investing in the supporting cast for Josh Allen. But that is Frank Gore. Frank Gore still kicking at age 36, going up to Buffalo too.
Frank Gore left Miami to go to Buffalo to play football. That's how much Frank Gore loves football. He went from sunny, beautiful Miami to go up to the freezing weathers of Buffalo to go carry the rock.
More power to you, Frank. Keep going. And I think right now he has an outside shot at a top 5 rushing record, if I'm not mistaken.
He's close. He's up there. He's just been churning out yards. So Frank Gore, man, I hope he plays like 5 more years and he just ends up being like, how Emmitt Smith just kept playing and playing, and next thing you know, Emmitt Smith was like the leading rusher of all time. Like, I want Frank Gore to have a career like that. The center, Mitch Morse,
yes,
getting 11 million AAV, 4 for 44, 26 million guaranteed. I didn't think he was the best center in this free agent class, and I didn't think he was going to be the highest paid center, but he is. He's 27. He's going to be, your offensive line. If you have a good center, it's just going to make your whole offensive line so much better. And I think Mitch Morse is a good player. I didn't think he was the best center in this year's free agent class, but he went out, got paid, reset the center market pretty much, and he'll be a good player for him.
Oh no, I think he's going to be more of a calming presence, if anything, for the Buffalo offensive line. And if they can give Josh Allen maybe a little bit more time, a little bit more consistent pocket, we've already seen his raw athleticism to run and hurdle over defenders. So I think that's a safe investment. Get a good center, and then hopefully it has a trickle-down effect. The one contract that doesn't make sense to me, though, is Cole Beasley somehow getting 4 for 29. Like, a shade over $7 million a year for – I just think Cole Beasley, he never did it for me.
Yeah, I think he's a good player, but I mean, I guess $7 million a year isn't too bad when you have somebody like Devin Funchess who went out and got like $14 million a year. I know Devin Funchess is only a year, but like Cole Beasley 4 for 29, $7 million AAV. Not too bad, I would say. Him paired with John Brown. I think they'll at least give Buffalo some weapons. But the last time we did a pod, it was Antonio Brown that was rumored to be a Buffalo Bill, and he said nope. So going from Antonio Brown to John Brown and Cole Beasley is not really the best. But the Bills actually signed 10 players. I think they've signed the most players, which is crazy.
They definitely had some holes to fill. Kind of staying on the topic of the center market, Matt Paradis goes from Denver to Carolina. The 29-year-old center gets 3 years for 29 million, 9.6 AAV. Carolina's had problems, having a fluid offensive line. This is somewhere they need to invest, and might as well again start at the center position.
That's who I thought the best center was Matt Paradis. He got less total money, less total years, and less guaranteed than Mitch Morse. Mitch Morse got 26 million guaranteed, while Paredes only got 12. So, I mean, I think Paredes is the best center, and I think this contract compared to Mitch Morse is a steal for Carolina.
And like you just hit it perfectly, is not only do they invest in what you feel is a better player, but I think it's more apt to a system. Going over to the Chicago Bears, they land HaHa Clinton Dix, who was a part of that crowded safety market, and a very, what I thought was head scratching. I consider Clinton Dix, in the upper class of safeties, like not necessarily elite, but very, very good. Only gets 1 for $3.5 million this season.
He's still young. He's only 26. He bounced around last season, went from the Packers to Washington, getting traded. Then he became a free agent. I think if he has a really good year in Chicago, which can happen because of how good the Chicago defense and how much opportunities the Chicago defense gives you to make plays, that he might be looking at a free agency deal next season at 27, which is still a good age, where he can land a 3-4 year deal for big money.
Chicago also goes and nabs Cordell Patterson from the Patriots. They give him 2 for 10. They're going to have to find creative ways to get Cordell Patterson involved, because he does have out of this world athleticism, downfield blazing speed, but he's just never put it together as a complete receiver. We even saw the Patriots throw him in at halfback for some plays, and he had a few couple moments where he not only showed competency, but he was quite effective. So they are definitely trying to get some extra weapons around Mitch Trubisky, but it's going to be up to the Chicago coaching staff figuring out what they can even do with Cordell Patterson.
The great thing about that is their head coach is Matt Nagy, who is he's an offensive genius. Sean McVay gets a lot of praise of what he's done. Matt Nagy is in that same caliber. Cordero Patterson plus Tariq Cohen on the field at the same time is going to be fun to watch.
They're definitely going with the speed kills aspect, and try and get these guys in space and maybe get the ball out of Mitch's hands a little bit quicker.
I hate the Buster Screen signing. Buster Screen got 3 for 16, 5.3 or 5.5 AAV. While Bryce Callahan, who left Chicago, got 3 for 21, which was 7 AAV, which is an average of 1.5 per year difference, which is only 5 million, per year difference from Screen to Bryce Callahan, while Bryce Callahan was a top 10, PFF graded corner, while Buster Screen is kind of terrible. So I don't understand signing Buster Screen to 3 for 16 when you could just pony up 5 more million and get Bryce Callahan for 3 for 21. I just don't understand that.
I was gonna say, because the Bears, Kyle Fuller is your essential number one right there. They still have Prince Mukamara as well. I didn't feel like Buster Screen was someone they necessarily needed. Why was that money they had to go spend?
Yeah, and I mean, he's a slot corner, and they already had a really, really good slot corner in Bryce Callahan. Just pay your own free agent instead of going out and getting a 30-year-old Buster Screen.
And lastly, for the Bears, signing a new kicker, Chris Blewett.
Yeah, let's hope that doesn't, come back to bite them.
Oh no, it definitely is. Let's go to the flavor of the week right now, the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, when the Odell news broke, me and Alex kind of rush to get something going here, and a few F-bombs and grieving stages later, I think Alex is starting to come around. But John Dorsey and that Cleveland front office right now, as they're winning the offseason right now. They bring in Sheldon Richardson, 3 years for $37 million. We saw how good he was in Minnesota last season. He was a solid piece for the Seahawks for a season. And then with the Jets, he, for some reason, was never really stayed around for one team, but I think he could make some real noise going into Cleveland.
Yeah, when you pair Sheldon Richardson with Olivier Vernon and you pair him with Myles Garrett, that is a very good offense or defensive line that's going to cause troubles with opposing offensive lines. They're going to create a ton of pressure.
And the reason I say win the offseason right now is because Cleveland is doing a good job of filling these needs, and more so doing it responsibly, because I think 3 for 37 is very fair for Sheldon Richardson. They give Demetrius Harris, the tight end from Kansas City, 2 for 6. I think he's a good complement piece for David Njoku. So another able body that can catch the ball and spread the field out a little bit for Baker. And then the controversial one, it's Kareem Hunt, who comes in 1 year, $1 million. He is going to serve his 8-game suspension to start the season, but they're going to have Kareem Hunt sitting in the backfield that already has Nick Chubb, who grabbed that number 1 spot last year.
John Dorsey was the GM that drafted Kareem Hunt before he left Kansas City. And with having Nick Chubb and how good Nick Chubb actually is, they can take the risk for Kareem Hunt. Not having Kareem Hunt for 8 games, that's fine. You still have Nick Chubb, who Nick Chubb was 4 yards away from rushing for 1,000 yards. I think he finished at 996. I think Nick Chubb eclipsed 1,000 yards and then took a carry for a loss of 4 on the last play of his season, and that's why he wasn't a 1,000-yard rusher. Which is, that would suck if he had a 1,000-yard rushing bonus in his contract. But yeah, I digress. Kareem Hunt is an electric player. He's a very good player with a ton of baggage. Whatever Kareem Hunt gives you this season is a plus.
And I think that's where the Browns have that luxury to do so. It's, say if things are getting a little tougher down the stretch, it gets cold, it gets, tough to play in those elements in Cleveland come November, December. Kareem Hunt's another good – he's going to have fresh legs. He's going to be starting the season fresh here, when the weather starts to turn colder. So that could work in their favor. Coming up on the Dallas Cowboys, they didn't make any splash signings. And right now, that's where the issue is. Dallas was rumored to be big players coming up in free agency, but the way they're positioned going forward, they weren't going to have the money to go out and spend on Earl Thomas, like they were telling themselves 2 seasons ago. And now they've had one of their starting receivers, or one of their key contributing receivers, Cole Beasley, walk. They're talking about paying Dak a whole bunch of money come next year.
And half their defense got suspended.
Half their defense is either suspended or just stopped playing football. We could be seeing the return of Cowboy slander again.
Cowboy slander never stopped.
Never stops.
Slander does not stop.
The Cowboy slander, Lakers slander, 24/7 here on the Bleacher Preacher podcast network. But no, the way things are looking in this free agent class for Dallas, they're putting a little too much faith in what they can do either in this draft or guys they already have on this roster, because on paper it's not looking promising.
When your best free agent signing is Jason Witten coming out of retirement, you have a bit of issues.
Well, here's the thing. They didn't even sign Jason Witten. He came back. His contract was still there. Yeah, right now it's Cameron Fleming, 2 for 8.5, who is a swing tackle at best.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and move on. Dallas.
Dallas, yeah. Good luck, buddy. Denver Broncos. They do lose a couple of linemen in free agency, but they bring in Jawan James for $51 million. A right tackle that just never really stood out to me in Miami. I know they spent a high first-round draft pick on him, but that's a lot for someone who never really lived up to his draft billing.
I like Jawan James. I think Jawan James is a quality tackle. I don't think he's worth 4 for 51 with 32 million guaranteed. I don't think he was worth that much money. I don't think there was a ton of quality right tackles on the market, but at the same time, I don't think there was a ton of supply and demand issues to where Juwan James would have got 51 million. But then at the same time, you got to protect Joe Flacco. So I'm all for it.
Joe Flacco at Denver Broncos. That's going to be a little weird getting used to. Denver also goes out and they spend a little bit on their secondary. They sign Kareem Jackson away from the Houston Texans. And then, as you mentioned earlier, they signed 27-year-old Bryce Callahan. Both deals are for 3 years. Jackson's getting 33, where Callahan's getting 21. And, I like how Callahan's going to line up with Bradley Roby. And is Roby still there?
Roby's a free agent. Roby's a free agent.
He's still a free agent. So it's as of right now, it's Callahan and Chris Harris. So not a bad setup. I like it.
I like Callahan. I like Bryce Callahan as a player. I still think Chris Harris is the best cornerback in the game. So I mean, they did well there. They lost Shaquille Barrett, but that's fine when you have Von Miller and Bradley Chubb on as your bookend sides. So I think they did well to address their secondary. Secondary should be a better unit this year. So we'll see.
Speaking of edge rushers, one of the consensus top players in free agency was edge rusher, and I'm going to call it more accurately, just a defensive end, was Trey Flowers, the 26-year-old two-time Super Bowl champ from the Patriots, goes to the Detroit Lions on a 5-year, $90 million deal for $18 million a season. Guys that age that are already that good, I know they're worth that money. As a Patriots fan, I was hoping and praying Trey Flowers was going to stay, but once the price started going from 15 to 16 to 17 mil a year, it's out of New England's realm of operation. That's when you just got to say thank you for your service, good luck. And now Trey's going to land in Detroit, where he's going to be the anchor of Matt Patricia's defense now here going forward.
He's a very good player.
Extremely good. Oh,
very good player.
For me to speak as a Patriots fan because I'm going to be biased about it, but his work that he put in this past season and at the tail end of the 2017 season just blows me away. And I'm even going to go even back to 2016 when he was having flashes of it, and he actually had a very good Super Bowl against the Falcons. 2017, exceptional, in bursts. But this past year, he puts it all together just from end to end. He was a force.
They signed Danny Amendola. He's going to help 1 year, $4.5 million.
Until Stafford gets him killed.
Yeah.
Inexcusable, though, here is the Lions somehow giving Justin Coleman 4 for 36 at $9 million. Coleman was in the New England system for a little bit, and he was looking lost at most times. And I know he had a little bit of a rebirth in Seattle, but Justin Coleman is not a $9 million a player year.
Yeah, definitely
$9 million a year player.
Especially as a slot corner. He's the highest paid slot corner in the league. Tavon Young was the highest paid slot corner in the league, and he was the highest paid slot corner in the league for 18 days. And I think Bryce Callahan has now matched the AAV from Tavon Young. Tavon Young and Bryce Callahan are both better than Justin Coleman. I think Justin Coleman got overpaid. There's a chance he makes me, eat my words, but I think Bryce Callahan is a better player than Justin Coleman.
All of these could, because it's just how we're reading on paper. Jesse James, 4 for 22.6, a fair deal. He's never been the outright number one tight end, so this will be his chance to really prove it in Detroit. We've never seen Matthew Stafford have a half decent tight end, so either we're going to see Jesse James, rise up to the challenge, or just be another one of those doorstop tight ends.
Two things. One, remember when the Lions drafted Eric Ebron ahead of Aaron Donald?
I think you're going to hurt whoever may be listening to this as a Lions fan. You just reawaken some nightmares.
And Eric Ebron on the Colts this year grabbed over 10 touchdowns.
Eric Ebron on the Colts this year was probably one of the best fantasy wire pickups, because once Andrew Luck started getting back in his groove, Ebron was running wild down the middle every game.
2, Jesse James on his interview where it's talking about how he was happy to get away from the circus that was the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The circus that you saw coming down the road years and years ago, and nobody listened to you. Moving on to this is weird. The Green Bay Packers, big spenders in free agency. Now, we mentioned his name a little bit earlier. Za'Darius Smith, outside linebacker from the Ravens, goes to Green Bay. 4 years, $66 million, bringing it to a 16.5 AAV. How did Baltimore get this man paid?
I'm wondering myself. Za'Darius Smith is a good player. I just don't think he was a 4 for 65 mil player. Good for him. Good for him going out and getting paid. I hope he does well. But
we're not mad at these players for taking these deals. If someone's offering this money outright, you go ahead and take it.
yeah,
we're looking at the front offices of these teams like, what?
Am I upset Za'Darius Smith left Baltimore? Yeah. I loved Za'Darius Smith as a Baltimore Raven. He did everything the right way. He played hard. No complaints. No peep. No issues. Anything with Za'Darius Smith. He's a good player. He's a good high character player. So losing him kind of tough, but him getting paid, great for him. But he's still in the same line as what I was thinking with Baltimore is. Paul Kruger got paid, Jarrett Johnson got paid, Adelius Thomas got paid, Pernell McPhee got paid, now Za'Darius Smith got paid.
That's the thing. You guys make these players. You'll be just fine. You're gonna find one in the 4th round that's gonna have a double-digit sack season, and you'll be just fine.
We already did. It's Matthew Judon, fifth round pick, Matthew Judon from Grand Valley State. He's going to be the next person that gets paid, but I think Baltimore's going to be letting pay him, so we probably don't lose him. And then Tim Williams from Alabama is still there. The Tyus Bowser. We got a guy named Bowser as an outside linebacker that's still there. So the Ravens are going to be fine. Good job, Za'Darius Smith getting paid.
Ravens find outside linebackers. The Steelers find wide receivers. You have the Patriots that can find corners. There's just some scouting departments that know how to find positions, and Baltimore, I think, will always find outside linebackers and DBs.
Yeah, and Adrian Amos signed with the Green Bay, 4 for 36. Another safety that got money, but I feel like Adrian Amos is worth it. I think Adrian Amos can be both a free safety and play center field, as well as play in the box as a strong safety and make plays in the run. I think he can play both roles, and I think they'll use him to play both roles. Adrian Amos is a quality signing.
Now, my only question about this, why would the Packers go out and spend money on Adrian Amos, but trade away Clinton Dix in the middle of last season just to go ahead and sign someone in the same age?
I think Amos is a better player than That's really it. And okay. I think probably overstayed his welcome in Green Bay. I think that trade wasn't more player, but more coaching staff not liking the player. But
that was part of Green Bay's issues last year, was the whole McCarthy cloud, and then just things kind of snowballed from there. Preston Smith goes from the Washington Redskins to Green Bay, also nabs a 4-year, $52 million, so he's getting $13 million a year. Those shareholders in Green Bay, man, they open up the checkbook.
Yeah, they released Nick Perry and replaced them in the outside linebackers with Za'Darius Smith and Preston Smith. So
they bring in the guard from Denver, Billy Turner, 4 for 28. So a nice little $7 million payday going his way. Yeah, like I said, it's just weird seeing the Packers spend, man. We've never seen it this much.
They brought in quality players. They just brought those quality players in for a little bit higher than what you would want to see Green Bay spend. But, they spent the money to secure those free agents. So, yeah.
It's that Rodgers window. I think Green Bay's starting to look at like, we can't keep playing around like this. Houston, there's Bradley Roby. He goes to Houston from Denver. 1 year, $10 million. So a nice little prove-it deal for Bradley Roby. He's going to be going into his age 27 year. They also shore up with Tashawn Gibson going to their free safety spot. He'll be going 3 for 22.5. So Houston, again, just changing out some parts and bringing in some what I think are slight upgrades.
I know for a fact that Houston is devastated upset, angered that they weren't able to bring Tyrann Mathieu back. They wanted to pay Tyrann Mathieu and bring him back to Houston, but Tyrann Mathieu left, and Tayshaun Gibson isn't a bad replacement. Jacksonville had to cut Tayshaun Gibson so they could pay Nick Foles, and that's just ridiculous in my eyes. Tayshaun Gibson is a very quality safety. He's going to be very good in this defense. Bradley Roby is a good corner too. 1 year, 10 mil prove it deal. I think he's going to have a good season. He's going to come back in the free agent market next season and get a 2-3 year deal for big money.
Just because you said it, speaking of the Jaguars, they get a quarterback. Nick Foles going from Philly to Jacksonville, 4 years, $88 million, $22 million a year for a guy who's been a borderline starter backup until he won a Super Bowl with Philly. Is Nick Foles a system quarterback, or is he really worth $88 million?
Nick Foles is not worth $88 million. I don't. $88 million with $50 million guaranteed is kind of ridiculous.
And Nick Foles, don't get me wrong, he balled out when he got the chance to in Philadelphia. He also had a very strong supporting cast in Philadelphia. He would either have Zach Ertz, he would have a good complement of running backs, and he would have Nelson Aguilar, Alshon Jeffrey, and whatever other wide receiver Philly was trying out. It was a solid supporting cast. There's nothing on the offensive side of the ball in Jacksonville that even compares to what he had in Philadelphia.
And not only that, they had to cut Malik Jackson, who was a very good player. They had to cut Tayshaun Gibson, who was a good player. So the defense is worse. Like how many games do you see Jacksonville winning? Like if they go 8-8, I feel like that means their season went 100% right.
I 8-8 might be their ceiling because as of right now, I don't see a path to where Nick Foles can win this many games for him, and that's assuming you get another 12, maybe 13 games out on Leonard Fournette because he can't keep it together a whole year.
And you're in a division that houses Houston and Indy, and that's not two easy teams to play against. And you're in the AFC, so you're gonna have to.
You can't even count out Tennessee. Tennessee's a tough out.
Tennessee's kind of trash.
I'm trying to be nice here. Jacksonville also re-ups guard AJ Cann, 3 for 15. He's always been one of my better guards in the NFL, so I think that's a good deal getting him for $5 million a year.
He's good. $5 million a year, only $6 million guaranteed. That's a quality sign.
So the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, he like you said, the Texans were working to keep him, but he goes to Kansas City, 3 years for 42, $14 million a year. He finally gets the big money payday. He's been working hard since he got drafted into the league. He went from a cap casualty in Arizona to a prove-it deal with Houston, I believe, was the only other team. Yep. And then after Houston, like we said, the Texans worked to re-sign him. He chooses to go to KC. Me and you thought he was going to end up with you in Baltimore, man.
Yeah, I think the way Tyrann Mathieu plays, he would have fit the Eric Weddle role perfectly in Baltimore, but I can't complain because they got Earl Thomas. So Tyrann Mathieu getting $14 million a year AAV, 3 for 42. This is a very good deal for Tyrann Mathieu. He got cut from Arizona because Arizona needed to make room to sign Sam Bradford. So good job for Tyrann Mathieu going out and getting paid with the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City, though, while signing Tyrann Mathieu, cut Eric Berry and traded Dee Ford and cut Justin Houston. And the Tyreek Hill incident in Kansas City. I don't know, man. Kansas City might have a rude awakening next year. I think their defense is worse. And if Tyreek Hill is found guilty or, gets in trouble for the incidents that he's had popped up, their offense is going to be worse too. So, man, Kansas City might be in trouble next year.
But it's okay because Kansas City wants to change the overtime rules so they're more fair. That's what they're worried about. They want to make sure that in overtime, everybody gets a chance.
To be honest with you, I would change the overtime rule.
Why did it? That my only thing is, and this is obviously with homerism and sarcasm built in, why is it just now a problem?
Well, I mean, everybody else that it happened to, You know, you don't see teams like, all right, let's look at last season, last playoffs. New Orleans got the ball and they didn't score.
Because the Rams made a stop.
Yeah. So like
That's
if
why they got the ball. Had the Chiefs made a stop on one of the 3 third downs, they had the Patriots in 3 third and 10s, and the Patriots converted all 3.
yeah, true. I mean,
And like I said, this is me just, kind of doing a dance around, Kansas City right now, but this, as funny as it sounds, I don't want that to be a game that kind of sets the franchise back when they have such a special talent in Patrick Mahomes. And yeah, the off-field stuff I know is far outside of their control, but already losing Kareem Hunt, possibly having Tyreek Hill maybe have to, be down for a couple games if there is anything found with these allegations. Lord knows you're not going to have Sammy Watkins 100% because that's just not in his MO. Yeah, you have Carlos Hyde, but that's nowhere near what you want out of your running back. I know we're going a little, hard on KC here, but your Super Bowl window's now, man.
yeah, Patrick Mahomes is on a rookie deal. The best way right now to build a contender in the NFL, then it's shown the Philadelphia Eagles have done it, the Los Angeles Rams have done it, is a quarterback on a rookie deal, and you go out and you get
Even when the Seahawks had Russell Wilson on his.
yeah, on his rookie deal, you go out and you get veteran players. You don't overpay, but you go out and give market value, and then you build a contender with short-term veteran players, very good players, with a quarterback with a rookie deal, and you draft well. That's what it is. Kansas City now has lost a lot of key pieces. That's why I think it's, Kansas City's going to have a worse season than they did this year. On the overtime rule, if it was Buffalo versus Kansas City, you don't hear any complaints from Buffalo fans. I think it's just because it's the New England Patriots and the New England fans, and it's the NFL and it's Roger Goodell. Is that why you see more outcry? So that's what I think about the overtime rule. In my opinion, each team should get the ball at the 50, and you have one set of downs to score. You get the ball at the 50-yard line, you go and you try to score field goal or touchdown. Second team gets the ball at the 50-yard line, you go and you score field goal or a touchdown. Whoever has more points wins. If they both are tied at 0, you do it again. That's my opinion is the best way to do overtime. Football is a sport of special teams, defense, and offense. I want to see all 3 facets of the game being represented in overtime.
I think it will get changed. I think it only is a matter of time. But like you said, it is just, what the in case point is. It just happens to be the problem child of the NFL, the franchise, the other 31 teams have a problem with. It is going to change, but it's not going to be solely because of one team or one situation. I think it's just been a culmination of, these different situations in overtime that have kind of left people wondering, what if or how this needs to play out. It's bound to change. That's the thing. It has to.
And either or, at the end of the day, line up a field goal unit at 40 yards out and see how many times your kicker can make it. Just keep trotting out kickers and have a kickoff, kick out, shoot out.
See, that's not fair because Baltimore has the best kicker in the NFL right now.
Yeah, Justin Tucker might go like 10 for 10.
That's it? Can we do it again? Okay, so kind of getting back on track here. The LA Chargers make a couple of moves. They lured Thomas Davis away from the Carolina Panthers. The 36-year-old linebacker signing 2 years for $10.5 million. So he's going to look to extend his career there. LA also gets a backup quarterback, Tyrod Taylor, 2 years for 11. So I don't know if you'll ever get to see the field that much, but can maybe stop in LA, maybe gain a little bit of knowledge before he heads over and tries and finds somewhere to get more playing time. And then D tackle Brendan Mebane also goes 2 for 9.3. Another depth signing. He was a key piece on their defense last year that was quite exceptional. So that's a move I do like for LA, but they still need to add a little bit more down the line to get back into contender status. But if KC is weakened up, the West is back wide open.
I think the Chargers are the best team in the AFC West. That is barring an injury to Phillip Rivers, just because Phillip Rivers is now getting up there in age. So yeah, their defense is scary. I think they're a top 5 defense in the league. Desmond King is very good. Casey Hayward is very good. Derwin James, I love Derwin James. Derwin James is such a good player. And Joey Bosa, not Mark Ingram, Ingram. What's his first name? Melvin Ingram. Yeah.
Melvin and Joey.
Yeah. Yo, they're a really good, scary defense. Then offensively, Melvin Gordon, as long as he stays healthy, he was a little beat up last season. He's a good running back. He's a top 10 running back in the league. I think, they're good. Keenan Allen's a good receiver. They're really good. I like the Chargers.
They're set up good. And, going back to last year, you were begging for Derwin James to get to Baltimore. Begging.
He was there. He was there at 16, and then they just traded out. And I would have loved if they would have stayed at 16 and picked Derwin James, but the picks that they got from trading out of 16 ended up with Lamar Jackson, gave them the ammo to trade up for Lamar Jackson. So, it was either Derwin James or Lamar Jackson pretty much. And, it sucks. Well, need a quarterback.
Thinking on the topic of the Baltimore Ravens, their former safety Eric Weddle goes to the LA Rams, 2 years, $10.5 million. Eric Weddle in the back 9 of his career at 34. This might be his last contract, so he's going to see if he can get that elusive Super Bowl ring. I like his fit on this Rams defense. Yeah,
he's going to help a lot. He's still a very good player.
Very good, very smart, very instinctual. I think he's going to – we saw how aggressive and how, the Rams wanted to attack blitz and, really, get after the quarterback. And we've seen it in Wade's systems before. I think Eric Weddle can be the smart man in the huddle, and I say that as someone who's – you never really see Eric Weddle make a bad play.
No, not really. Athletically, he has declined, but he's still there mentally. And then he was the quarterback of the Ravens defense. He was the one with the headset. He was the one lining everybody up. He was the leader there, and he's going to continue to do that in the Rams. He's going to bring a lot of good things to LA.
The biggest drama that came out of free agency was Anthony Barr. Originally, he agrees to join the New York Jets. Wakes up the next morning and decides he wants to go back home. So Minnesota keeps its star linebacker, 5 years for $67, giving him a 13.5 yearly salary. Good deal for the Vikings. They keep one of their good young studs. I think he can still continue to get better, and he had a little bit of a down year last year, but I think he's going to turn it around.
I have no clue where Minnesota is finding this money from paying Kirk Cousins to re-signing Anthony Barr to a big year deal, to still having Stephon Diggs and giving him his money, to still having Harrison Smith and having his money, to restructuring Everson Griffin and still keeping him on the team. I don't know where they're finding this money. Down the line, somebody's gonna have to go because they ran out of money, but they've done a good job keeping all their pieces so far.
It's more so don't argue with the process, just look at the results. But they're gonna have to start winning when it counts here, and get back into the playoffs to make all this worth their while. Moving on, I'm just come out and say it: the Patriots have not done anything to wow me in free agency. They've brought back some guys, Philip Dorsett and John Simon, who were role players last year, but some other fill-in pieces, wide receiver Maurice Harris, Mike Pennell, these aren't big names by any means, but knowing Bill Belichick in the New England system, they're going to just make this work somehow. Probably the highlight is Jason McCourty coming back, and we don't even know if he's going to start next year. So typical Patriot nonsense. They'll make something happen with it.
McCourty Bros still back. McCourty Bros back. The Bennett Bros are going to be back.
You need Marty Bennett back in the fold, having both Bennett Bros.
Yeah, trading for Michael and re-signing Marty out of retirement. It's gonna happen, I feel like.
Well, they still own Marty's rights, I think. I have to look into it, but it has to happen at this point. The New Orleans Saints, they do go out and spend a little bit. They, speaking of New England, they bring in the former New England defensive tackle Malcolm Brown, 3 for 15.
I like that.
I like that deal a lot. He's only 25.
Yeah, and then they signed another 25-year-old Mario Edwards for 2 years, $5 million. I think that's a quality contract. That is a very good contract. I think Mario Edwards is a very good player.
They replace Mark Ingram with Latavius Murray, 4 for 14. When he's healthy, Latavius Murray is a very versatile running back.
It had some good years in Minnesota when Dalvin Cook was hurt, and I think he's gonna do well. He's gonna replace everything Mark Ingram they lose from Mark Ingram.
Let's see. Next up, the Giants. We already, like I said, me and Roncal went over their disasters. So they trade Odell Beckham. Then they turn around and gave a 31-year-old Golden Tate 4 years for $37 million with 22.9 guaranteed. What the hell are you doing?
They have two Goldens, Marcus Golden and Golden Tate. Marcus Golden was a good signing. Marcus Golden, 1 year, $3.7 million. I think that's a good signing. I think Marcus Golden is going to go back in the free agent market and then get a really good deal next season. Golden Tate signing is inexcusable. What the hell?
Golden Tate was someone who I had on the Patriots wish list for the longest, even going back to training camp of last year to say like, hey, maybe even trade for this guy, but
not for 4 years and $37 million though.
He's good. That is. Oh man, the Giants need football Jesus like none other. They also they gave away Landon Collins for absolutely nothing and thought re-signing 35-year-old Antoine, but he's only 35.
He's been in the league a while.
He's been around since Bob Sanders, and that was 06.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Trading away Olivier Vernon, the Giants.
This is a piece I kind of went over with Alex. Is the Giants they spent all those years going all in on free agency, and literally have nothing to show for it.
Yeah, because all they have to show for it is dead money.
Dead money.
Snacks has dead money on there.
It was that damn boat trip.
Yep. They do have 2 first-round picks, and I think the most giant thing to do would be to not take a quarterback with any of those 2 first-round picks.
It is going to make must watch wherever the draft is. I know it's in Nashville this year, but the New York media will have an absolute meltdown. The other team in New York, the Jets, they make splashes galore. They signed C.J. Mosley away from the Baltimore Ravens for 5 years, $85 million. That's $17 million a year for C.J. Mosley, Rob. That was someone you watched come up through the draft. He landed in Baltimore, and you saw him become the highest paid linebacker in this year's free agency period. What the hell?
C.J. Mosley is a great player. C.J. Mosley is a great player, great leader, great character guy. I just wouldn't pay him 17 AAV. Luke Kuechly is 12 AAV. Bobby Wagner is a free agent next season, and I think Bobby Wagner beats CJ's contract. But CJ getting 17 AAV, hey man, good for you. Great years in Baltimore. Glad you got paid. That's the best I can put it.
And someone needs to tell Le'Veon Bell how money works because, we have his drama last year, sits out, doesn't take the 14 mil price tag. He does sign with the Jets for 4 years for 52 mil, but he's only getting 13 this year. Now, granted, it's only a difference of $900,000, but when you get into the other politics and the situation of the deals, Le'Veon's left a lot of money on the table. So what does he have to prove now here in New York to make it justified?
Is he going to be the same Le'Veon Bell? He's a year off football could help because he doesn't have the wear and tear on his body, but is also a year off football rust-wise. Now he's also gotten paid. Is he going to be as motivated? Who knows?
It's going to be one of those we have to see it on the field because this can either, really work for the Jets or it can, blow up in their face because right now they're in a special spot where they have Sam Darnold. He's going to be on that rookie deal like we were talking about earlier. It's now what can the Jets do to take advantage before they have to pay Sam Darnold a small fortune?
They tried, to go out and get Barr, Mosley, and Le'Veon Bell. And that's a lot of money for 3 players, but those are 3 quality players that would enhance any team.
Also, a decent deal I like was the D-end Henry Anderson. 28-year-old gets 3 for 25. He was, even though the Jets didn't really have a lot of highlights last year, he was someone I always saw popping up, making plays. The next team that just went absolutely bonkers with their checkbook, the Raiders signed the best tackle in the market, Trent Brown from the Patriots. He gets 4 for 66. AAV of 16.5. That is now 2 years in a row. A Patriot free agent left tackle has become the highest paid lineman. Someone needs to give Dante Scarnecchia a serious pay raise. Trent Brown was traded from the Niners to the Patriots for a 5th-round pick, goes to New England, puts in work. Now he's a Super Bowl champion and the highest paid tackle.
Oakland just throwing money out there. Traded for Antonio Brown, signed Tyrell Williams for $44 million for 4 years. Signed LaMarcus Joyner for $42 million. John Gruden is going in, and I think it depending on what they do in the draft. I think they have a shot at winning the West. The West is kind of wide open right now. The Chargers are a little bit older, and they're kind of like that mid-tier team. I think the Chargers are the best team in the West, but they don't have that extra oomph. We talked about Kansas City, and we talked about all the pieces Kansas City lost. Oakland, Trent Brown, if he plays 90% of what he did at the Patriots, he's worth it. Tyrell Williams plus Antonio Brown, LaMarcus Joyner now in the back, and they have 3 first-round picks. There's a chance Oakland is a bit better.
And I think you also have to look like, is AB going to have his head on straight, and is Derek Carr going to be able to rebuild his confidence?
Because that's it. It's the quarterbacks.
We saw a man that was a shell of himself out there last year, and I know it wasn't a good situation for the Raiders, but the Philadelphia Eagles, they do lose Nick Foles, so now it's all squarely on Carson Wentz. They swap out Michael Bennett. They trade him to New England. They, in turn, bring in Malik Jackson for 3 years, $30 million, so 10 years or $10 million a pop. He was really good in Denver, really good in Jacksonville, and he's joining another loaded D-line in Philly.
Yeah, they just pretty much replaced Michael Bennett with Malik Jackson. And, Malik Jackson is going to stay in there with Brandon Graham coming off the edge, and he's going to stand right next to Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox is a top 5 interior lineman in the NFL. This very good defensive line. They signed Ronald Darby to add to that secondary. That is a very, very good team.
They did suffer a lot of injuries down the stretch last year, so I think this is a good move for Darby to come back and kind of re-earn his starting spot. The Pittsburgh football team, the one that you think so highly of, all they really have to show is a couple of depth signings, and then Steve Nelson, the 26-year-old corner, 3 for 25. Mind you, this is coming from the from a corner coming from the Kansas City defense that was bottom 5 in the NFL.
No comment.
No comment. That's perfectly fine. Moving on. The Seattle Seahawks keep starting linebacker KJ Wright, 2 years, $15 million. That keeps moving right along. They also read up guard DJ Fluker because they're still throwing together an offensive line up there, so help them God. They also paid a kicker $15 million. Oh my goodness, Jason Myers.
I guess. Michael Kendricks is a good linebacker. Michael Kendricks had a couple of issues.
He's going to prison.
Yeah, Michael Kendricks had a couple of issues, but he still got paid, so sure. Mikey Iupati going from Arizona to Seattle. Again, still throwing around that offense. If Mikey Iupati was like 6 years younger, that would have been a great signing. But Mikey Iupati's 32, so yeah.
Probably. Okay, this signing, this next one really stood out to me. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or excuse me, he's from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The San Francisco 49ers signed Quan Alexander away from the Buccaneers. They gave Quan Alexander 4 years, $54 million, except Alexander missed last year with a torn ACL.
Quan got 4 for 54, while somebody like Jordan Hicks got 4 for 34. I don't know about you, but I'd rather go out and sign Jordan Hicks than Quan Alexander. I think Jordan Hicks is a lot better player than Quan Alexander. And I think the Quan Alexander going out and getting $13.5 million was one of the reasons why CJ Mosley got the big contract from the Jets. So San
It
Francisco, man, they open up the pocket. San Francisco has a lot of money, but I don't think Quan Alexander is the guy that you should be throwing your money at.
No, again, it only takes one team to screw it up for the rest. They did also land Tevin Coleman away from the Falcons, so he joins a backfield that has a returning Jerick McKinnon. They also still have Matt Breida, so I would
This
expect.
is this is another signing that kind of I shook my head at. You have Matt Breida who broke out last
You
season,
don't
and
need Tevin Coleman, right? They didn't need this.
yeah, and you have Jerick McKinnon coming back from injury. Yes, he's coming back from injury, but Jerick McKinnon can return punts, can return kicks, can be a receiver out of the backfield, and Matt Breida had a breakout season. You don't really need Tevin Coleman.
They did sign Jason Verrett to a 1-year deal. Me and you really like Verrett. It's just he's just never been healthy. He
Yeah,
can't.
that's it. That's just it's just injuries. Good player, always been injured. Hopefully, he can stay healthy and show out this season, and get a big payday moving forward.
All righty, and just to kind of round things up, the Titans went out and spent money because, again, why not? They gave one of the top guards, Roger Saffold, 4 years for $44 million. They take him away from the Rams. Somehow, Adam Humphries was the third receiver in Tampa Bay, and their subpar passing attack. He lands 4 for 36 at $9 million a year. Unreal. Kenny Vaccaro, again in this crowded safety market, gets 4 for 26. That's 6.5. And most just mind-numbingly was Cameron Wake at 37 years old gets 3 years, $23 million.
I don't know what the Titans are doing.
That was gonna be my next thing. I'm like, after what I just read off to you, this is like going 5 different directions here.
And they traded a 4th-round pick for Ryan Tannehill while you have Marcus Mariota in-house. I don't know what the Titans are doing. I just don't.
And I tried to give them a compliment earlier. I take that compliment back.
Yeah. Cam Wake is 37. Sure, I guess.
40.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Wake is still a good player, but he's 37. You gave him a 3-year deal. Cam Wake at 37 should not get more than a 1-year deal. Just you just don't know. He's 37. You don't know what he's gonna be like. He's gonna fall off a cliff sooner or later. He's 37.
Now the last team to make major moves in free agency, the Washington Redskins, they pony up to Landon Collins. They snag him away. Well, I can't even say snag because the Giants left him outside and said, just take it, like an old TV on the curb. They give Landon Collins 6 years, $84 million at $14 million a year. He's a 25-year-old safety. He's just hitting his prime, and Washington now has someone on the back end.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's great.
At the opposite end of the age spectrum, they gave 34-year-old Adrian Peterson a 2-year deal for $5 million.
I hope Adrian Peterson's back half of his career mirrors Frank Gore. I really do.
He just keeps running over people left and right.
Adrian Peterson had 1,000 yards rushing last season.
Even though the Redskins were terrible last year, at points they had Mark Sanchez playing quarterback. They had Josh Johnson playing quarterback. Adrian Peterson was still somehow able to move the ball forward.
A future Hall of Famer. He's going to get his stats, get your money.
Now, just to kind of go over it, there are some names still out there. Blake Bortles, we've seen it happen with him before. Maybe the right team can get it out of him one more time. Who knows?
I think he's going to go to a team that doesn't have plans on taking a quarterback in this year's draft, as well as doesn't have plans on winning a lot of games, i.e. Washington, Miami, something like that. I think Blake Bortles might land.
We also have Ezekiel Ansah, who was once a top 15 draft pick. He's out on the market. Justin Houston, he's had his injury problems in the past. He's right now looking for a job. We also have Ndamukong Suh on the market.
I think Justin Houston is still a good player. I hope he lands in Baltimore. And Ndamukong Suh, I think he's gonna wait and he's gonna get another contract like he did last season, the 1 year for $10 million or whatever to come be a guy. Ndamukong Suh is still a really good defensive player.
This is one I need you to help me understand because you had him in Baltimore and then he was traded to Philly. Timmy Jernigan right now he's without a deal.
He just hasn't put it all together. You know, he's just a guy that's just he hasn't put it all together. He's just if he gets everything together, he's gonna command a big payday. He just hasn't. You know.
We also have Jamie Collins and Clay Matthews still listed as free agents, and Nick Perry. So also there's plenty of help on defense right now. So and
Jamie Collins, after he got paid, hasn't really been the same player.
he asked for Von Miller money, and then it all just crumbled. We also have
Randall,
Randall Cobb looking for a job, along with
Randall Cobb, man, he's a good. He might be a good signing.
Randall Cobb. He's the one I really now that New England struck out on Golden Tate. I think he could fit in well there.
Jordy Nelson, a wide receiver that got cut from Oakland, he's hit the market. I don't expect him to be unsigned for a long time. He seems like a Baltimore Raven wide receiver signing, a older guy that was cut. Michael Crabtree's still free agent as well. Brandon Marshall, not the wide receiver, the inside linebacker is on the market. That's another guy that I like. That I want my Ravens to sign him too. So I think he's a really good.
I was going to say, with all the safeties getting signed, Jonathan Cyprian's a pretty good safety. He's without a job.
Josh Sitton and TJ Lang, former Green Bay linemen who should provide depth to some teams that need guards.
And then I think the last pretty decent piece here is he's coming off a career year. The tight end Jared Cook.
Yeah, but he's a little older, so who knows? A couple of tight ends. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, if he
never put it together.
If he puts it together, there's a chance. And Tyler Eifert, if he's healthy, is a good player.
Last I saw, didn't his leg fall off?
I don't remember didn't he get hurt in the Pro Bowl?
Okay, so his injury started in the Pro Bowl. He had that freak injury when he was stretching out for a catch. But this past season, I think it was a game in Atlanta, he gets injured. It was one of those, I think his leg snapped or something. I'm going to gross myself out and look this up.
Terrence Williams, Mike Wallace, guys that could probably still go out there and be like a fourth receiver and give you some depth. Jermaine Kearse, same guy, fourth receiver, give you some depth. Mo Wilkerson is somebody who's getting there in age, but I think if you play him in limited snaps, instead of playing him 1,000 snaps a year, you play him at that 500, 600 snaps per season. I think you can get some production from him. Going on down the list, I don't really see much people there. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Anybody want Ryan Fitzpatrick? No, that's a pass. Who else is on the Manti Te'o is a free agent. Does anybody want Manti Te'o?
I mean, he made the list.
Yeah, Sebastian Janikowski is a free agent.
It's a reliable kicker, man. I know he has the yips from time to time, but what kicker doesn't? And to my original point, it was Tyler Eifert's ankle that fell off. His body went left, the ankle went right.
LeGarrette Blount is a free agent. I feel like he's a guy you can still give the ball to where he can just fall ahead for 3 to 4 yards.
Shane Ray is a free agent, and he's 26, and he was a first-round pick, and now he's getting no buzz in the free agency market.
Pernell McPhee is a free agent, another one of an outside linebacker that was paid, that left Baltimore. Trey Boston is a free agent. Somebody needs to go get Trey Boston right now. Trey Boston is a very good safety.
What we're trying to make, there's plenty of talent still out there, and we still have the draft to go. So before we wrap this up, what is the one signing you want to see? Where do you, out of all those guys we list, what is the one you want to see happen? And don't just make it about Baltimore.
Oh,
if you have to.
Yeah, so Baltimore should sign Justin Houston. That's all I got.
Okay, well, the Patriots need to sign Randall Cobb. They need someone to help Edelman move the chains, and you don't even know if Gronkowski is going to come back yet. So maybe throw a contract at Jared Cook if Martellus Bennett doesn't want to come out of retirement. All I have to say is, holy hell, what a 5 days of free agency and shenanigans.
The tampering period is a little weird.
Just say negotiations open.
Yeah, I mean, why would you start just tampering doesn't start on the Monday where tampering
People
is
really think
legal.
they hammered that deal out in 5 minutes at midnight?
Like, no, tampering starts like when the season ends, you know? So like
Like,
just get away from tampering.
calling the player or the team or the agent like, "Hey, can I come play with y'all?"
Like it's whatever. Tampering period, legal tampering. It's a whatever for me.
Before we get out of here, Rob, you watch anything good lately?
No, not really. I've just been, playing Super Smash, chilling out, watching some YouTube.
I gotta watch this like Triple Frontier movie everybody's talking about.
I've heard about that.
I'm
It's
always
on my
down
watch.
for a heist movie.
Yeah, we'll see. I watched Captain Marvel.
Okay, what were your thoughts on Captain Marvel?
Captain Marvel. I've gotten to the point where I hate origin movies,
Because you know
but
what the way of.
yeah, and Captain Marvel though, I like the way how they pulled it together with her getting her powers from the Tesseract. Spoiler alert. we're gonna go into the spoilers of Captain Marvel right now, so everybody click off if you have not seen Captain Marvel. But I like the way they did that, where they did her getting the powers from the Tesseract. I think she's a cool character. We
You think
saw the
No,
with
no,
that.
I was gonna say, my problem with it, and I can't even say problem, is she too OP?
She literally got her powers from the Infinity from 8 Infinity Stones, so I don't think so.
So, so she's in that same realm of, say, Scarlet Witch, Vision, but they're both dust right
From what I saw from Captain Marvel, and granted, Captain Marvel takes place 20 years, 25 years before Avengers. I don't think she's stronger than Thor with Stormbreaker. At least to the point where she should threaten Thanos.
now. In the movie, she pretty much runs through a whole space fleet, and Ronan's like, "Yeah, not now. I'll see you later." Dips out. I still believe Thor and Stormbreaker could have single-handedly won the Battle of Wakanda in Infinity War. I just
He
don't.
kind of did. He just, was a little late.
I know he's a little late. Okay, I get that because the whole you had to build it and then die, come back to life, and then come back and wreck shop. But the moment he arrived, it was like Stone Cold when he arrived to save the invasion angle for Team WWF.
Yeah, and he did that. He took out a bunch of ships. He took out, he took out Thanos. It's just he
He
was
should have gone
late.
for the head.
Should have went for the head, and he didn't.
We got
Oh well.
we're about 40, 43, 42-ish days away from Endgame. Goddamn, we're almost there.
I hope it's like 3.5 hours long. I really do.
It's okay, man. The first round of the draft will be wrapping up as soon as the movie starts.
I remember going into Avengers Infinity Wars and just sitting there in my Baltimore Raven jersey and then getting a text message in the first 5 minutes like Baltimore traded up for Lamar Jackson. I was like, oh, what?
It was
Hold on, Avengers is going on. I can't deal.
it was during the previews, and me and you were like as they're going on, like, did you get confirmed? Did you get it? Did you get it? Did you get it? I don't know. I might have to make the trip back home and go see this movie with some friends.
Yep.
Got to bring it all together. With that being said, we want to thank you guys for tuning into this episode of the Bleacher Preacher podcast. You can follow the show on Twitter at Bleach Preach Pod. We're also on Instagram at Bleacher Preacher Podcast as well. You can listen to the show on SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, via your Apple podcast app. We're all right then and there. Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Now I'm going in reverse order again. Pretty much anywhere but Spotify. We moved on from them. Our new venture is getting sponsored by a good top of the line morning coffee and or donut muffin brand. Right now, Dunkin' Donuts, Tim Hortons. We're waiting, guys. You can be the first. We can make a commitment.
If you guys listen to this podcast enough and share it enough, there's a chance that we could possibly franchise a Tim Hortons here, since there isn't one. So keep that in mind.
Bring Timmy's, and I already have the spot picked out. We can get it right by the arena where all the visiting Canadian teams come through. They want to watch their favorite sport. Let's get them their favorite coffee, get them their Timbits, get them going. And if that doesn't work, it's cool. We'll make Dunkin' happen. We're all about it. Rob, go ahead and plug your and/or social media and/or theories.
Rob_BPP on Twitter, Instagram. Hit me up on there if you want my friend code. We can go ahead and play some Super Smash Bros. I main Wolf. So
also, if you need help cooking a steak, Rob is your guy. Thank you again, guys. We'll be seeing you real soon, and you have a wonderful day.
Peace.